Welcome to the Retrospect podcast, a show where a couple of guys come together from different walks of life and discuss a topic from their generation's perspective. My name is Ian, and as always, I'm joined by Stoney.
Hello.
And as you probably heard in the last episode, X-Man, has
Departed the show
for now.
For now.
So this intro,
I have high hopes that we might get him back one day.
Yes. A little bittersweet doing this intro as well. Having to.
Well, I drove up, and I'm going, first thing pops in my head, oh, look, who's late again?
Yeah, right.
You know, oh, wait, he really is going to be late.
Yeah, right. He's going to be late for a minute now.
Yep.
We also have to be careful what we say because I'm pretty sure he may listen to this episode, so we can't talk.
Wow.
We can't talk about him.
Talk about him, can't we?
Yeah, but we can't talk about him like he's not in the room because he probably is listening.
Okay, all right.
Not that I would. Come on, X-Man.
No. Maybe a little bit.
But so, anyways.
Well, this is kind of surreal in a way.
Right.
You know, we've done almost a year with him, and I'm kind of like. I'm excited about the future, but when you have strong friends like we are,
right?
When you kind of lose that a little bit, it kind of gives you a little unknown, kind of queasy feeling too, because you're like, okay, what's going to happen?
Right.
Because as good as we are individually, we were really good together.
Yeah.
And if one of us wasn't having a good day, the other two could pull it in, and
right.
So when I'm ever having a bad day, it's going to fall on you.
right. I got to pick up the slack.
Pick up the slack.
Right. Yeah. But anyways, this is going to be just a conversational episode. We're going to just try and get our feet wet and what this feels like in this this.
Well, I remember when we first started, and Hottie Doctor and I would go back, and we always listened to our episodes, always.
Yeah.
But after we got 30 of them in,
right.
We went back and listened, and how far we've come in that period of time.
Right.
When we first started, we were talking over each other. You get this timing,
right.
And you can look at the other one or the other two and go, okay, this guy's got something to say.
Yeah.
Let me throw it to him somehow. And you got kind of used to that.
Right.
You know, and now a part of that's gone right now.
Exactly.
I think we'll be fine, but
right.
a part of it's gone right now.
Yeah. It definitely feels a little weird. But anyways, this has been, it has been a busy week for me.
Sure.
I can say if I may, I had a lot of stuff going on with work. I'm in the process of, like we said in the previous episode as well. I am moving into some new, supervisory positions at work, and with that comes more responsibility, always, as it does. But with that, my brother had gone to the hospital.
Oh wow, is he okay?
Yeah, he's fine now, but it definitely was it was scary because it's like, trust me when I say I'm not getting mad at him when I say this, but like I already have like a bunch of stuff going on with work and everything's happening, and I'm trying to figure out how this podcast and everything else is kind of fitting into my new schedule and where does it all lie, and then of course out of nowhere my brother's like he's like scared, calling me, and he's like, I'm going to the hospital, like I have an elevated heart rate. It was like 150 or something. It was crazy. And
that's insane.
Exactly.
That's insane.
And he, anyways, come to find out, he has, he's better now. And it was just, like I said, I don't want to go ahead and spill out on his information without his consent.
No, well, absolutely.
But
not.
It definitely was like, we know what it is now. He's getting treatment for stuff. Everything is better. But obviously in the middle of my week, getting a phone call about this, like, him being scared, and it's a lot of unknowns. You're like, oh man, all the things
never seem to space themselves out over time.
No,
if you have a year, it's not going to brace itself over the whole year. It's going to happen, and everything's going to happen this month.
Yes,
and it's going to give you a little break, and you go, okay, I can do this, and you 4 or 5 things are going to hit you again.
Of course,
it never spaces itself out.
Right.
So you've been hit pretty hard this last 2 weeks.
Right. It's been hard to, as I believe X-Men would say, like, is keep the plate spinning, or it was either you or him was like just trying to keep the plate spinning, and I feel like I definitely let a few of them drop.
That's all right. It happens. We're human. We have to be able to, understand that, we're going to drop those plates.
Right. I mean, yeah.
And it's going to happen.
Exactly.
And you just got to keep rolling.
Exactly.
So, Heidi Doctor has, at first I think it's still considered pneumonia. She's got double pneumonia. I just don't think there's a lot of fluid down in the bottom yet. But when you look at the x-rays, it's all white.
Wow.
So poor thing's been struggling with all of that, coughing and, so I just.
We've all been through the ringers, it sounds like.
Just a couple of crazy weeks. And, like you said, the episode last week was kind of interesting. And, just moving forward, I'm pretty excited about that. I think the whiteboard's still full of topics.
Right, yeah.
And people are contacting us, still yet saying, hey, talk about this. And when a couple of people found out that X-Man wouldn't be returning or returning for a while, they were like, hey, I'd like to fill in. I got a couple of things to say.
Yeah.
So the future does look exciting. Heidi Doctor said she would come fill in for a month or two so that you and I could kind of sit back, have some conversation and some things to talk about. But you and I could kind of figure out, do we want to rotate some hosts? Do we want to bring it just to me and you? Or do we want to, seek out the third host again?
Right. Yeah.
Find a boomer.
Oh, yeah. Right.
No, I'm the boomer, right?
Right.
He's the X-Man.
Right.
And so find somebody from the X generation.
Right.
That can fill that spot in.
I have definitely received a couple of people that have reached out that had said they would like to join. And just know that if you're listening, I don't want to dox your names or anything. But if you're listening to this episode and you are interested, trust me, I have seen your messages and I have heard you. And we are considering it and trying to put it in the plan. So don't give up hope on me. I'm still making it happen.
So I think with Heidi Doctor going to fill in for a little bit, you and I can just kind of sit back, take a deep breath, because we want to do it right.
Right.
We started this for a reason, and we want to continue that on. He left us in a really good place.
Yeah.
With his full support, we gave him our full support on what he's doing, and so we just want to do it right.
Right.
It's funny to me. Because this is my first stab at anything creative,
right,
and y'all are the artsy fartsy people, and just to see the response from people, is amazing.
Is awesome.
I see what y'all get out of it now.
Oh yeah,
being the musicians and being the the artsy fartsy people and getting that. I don't want to say instant gratification, but kind of it is.
Right.
I'll get a text. Oh, I listened to your show. That was awesome. Y'all were funny. Right. I disagree with this, but what you said here was really interesting.
Yeah.
And I feed on that. I really like that.
Right.
So we want to do this right. So I think me and you'll just kind of kick back and think about what we want to do and maybe try some people out and see what fits.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I agree wholeheartedly. And
I mean, we have this fancy studio. It's kind of,
yeah.
I don't want it to go to waste,
Of course, yeah. and that's the thing is the one thing I will say is like talking about being like an artistic person and having that you said like kind of an instant gratification. For me, it's like it is the recognition of like you are putting. For me, at least, when it comes like to music and stuff and art and a lot of varieties, is like I really feel something when I'm making this.
Right.
I'm really like when it comes to making music or art in some capacity. So you feel like there's like a little bit of yourself that you're like really imparting into that. And so to have somebody also appreciate that and tell you that is always like, this feels pretty nice.
Well, all week long, I'm looking forward to this.
Right.
All week long.
Yeah.
We bump into each other a couple of times a week.
Right.
Going, hey, I got an idea for this.
Yeah.
Or, hey, what do you think about this?
Yeah.
And then I got my little pad out and I always got these little notes on stuff.
Right.
I got a book I want you to read.
Okay.
I forgot to bring it today.
Okay.
It's called we talked about it in the Aliens episode.
All right.
It's called Chariots of the Gods.
Yeah.
And I want you to read it.
Okay.
And that's one of the episodes Hottie Doctor wants to do with us.
Really?
It's talking about ancient civilizations and ancient aliens and things
fun.
like that. Just a fun episode.
Oh, right. Yeah.
But I want you to read the book.
Okay. Okay.
Because when I was young, I read this book, and it just inspired me to a whole bunch of stuff in life. And, just kind of goofy stuff like that.
All right.
And then, like we did with the Gabby Patino one, we've gone into some deep stuff too.
Yeah.
And, but I'm excited.
Oh, of course.
I can't wait to see what the future holds. And, maybe we'll try a couple people out and poof, somebody will just fit.
Of course.
And
then like one thing this year that's happening because of the fact that I'm like moving into a new chapter in work, we talked about at like the beginning of the year, I had made plans to I want to travel more.
Mm-hmm.
I've already gone on one trip for not really work related, but something very adjacent to it, but it was still fun and still a great experience. And I learned so much, and I got to talk to so many people that were very intelligent and very wise.
Right.
And so I got to really just soak up a lot with all that. And I still haven't had the chance to really sit down and unpack a lot of those notes that I took and a lot of the things that I learned. Mm-hmm. But that is one of the many different trips that I want to take this year.
Right.
I'm going to have some money set aside and some time off. And man, I especially after the past month or so, I need a break. I just need a.
Well, it's funny you said that. Hottie Doctor sent me a link to something, and it was called something about relationships, and it's called the 222 method.
Okay.
And it's every 2 weeks you should have date night.
Mm-hmm.
Every 2 months you need to go away somewhere else for overnight or a weekend, and every 2 years you need to take a vacation together.
Okay.
And I'm like, hey, that's kind of cool. We do nice. Date night a little bit more than that.
Right,
but
right.
we need to go her and I need to go somewhere and just get away for a weekend. Go, have somebody come sit for the dogs and, go do something. So right. I don't know if that looks interesting to you.
Well, and that definitely plays into it because my girlfriend Mallory and I have planned a trip to Disney, and it's coming up in the next few months. We have some money set aside, and we're going to be buying tickets and reservations now so we can pay it all off by the time we get there.
Right.
And have that time that's not stressful, and we're trying to plan all of it now so that way whenever we're there it is fun and enjoyable, and we can eat like royalty and have just these really fun moments because we both haven't been since we were younger. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun. That, and then there's other things that I want to do in other states in this great country that I want to go to and see different aspects of. And so yeah, and like I said, even if it doesn't all happen this year, there I want to keep that precedent going of because of the fact that I have come off of kind of being a freelance artist a lot of times and feeling like I can't really give myself that time off because I'm I gotta be working, I gotta be doing something to kind of keep the money coming in. But now that I'm I'm not going to take advantage. I'm not going to take it for granted. The fact that I have some stability now and that I have the ability to have some time off.
Yeah, but when you realize all of a sudden in life you have this stability, you get lost in it.
Right.
And you become complacent and you don't do the things that you really need to do to tend to yourself. Yeah. Tend to your girlfriend, tend to your parents, tend to the people around you. Right. And we get lost in this stability. Right. So I like the fact that you're planning to do stuff over the next. I'm not going to sit in this,
right? Yeah,
and become complacent to life and take it for granted. Yeah. There's still things I want out there. Now I'm going to use this to pay for those things. The stability is going to pay for it.
Exactly.
But I'm still going to do these things.
Right.
So especially after the stroke.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's a lot I want to do with Hottie Doctor before I don't have any more time with her.
Of course.
Hopefully I have another 20 or 30 years, but just in case.
Of course.
There's some stuff I want to
make the most of the time you have now. And I've always kind of lived by that in some flavor or another.
Well, I've always done it for myself.
Oh, yeah, right.
Now, this time it's with her.
Exactly. Now you're it's just more than that.
I want to see that smile as many times as I can.
Right.
you know,
exactly,
because that's what's important to me now. I love her when she smiles.
That's awesome.
It just,
yeah,
the beast is done.
Exactly.
You know, the beast is
exactly.
done whenever she smiles.
Right. That and I understand 100%, and I think that this trip that we're planning hopefully is the start of some like really awesome things of like of just keeping the big thing is just reframing my mindset towards a lot of it,
right?
Of like just keeping myself accountable for like, yes, you're working hard, yes, you're doing a good job, but you also can take a break. You can step away, and that is okay, because a lot of times I feel like I'm kind of a workaholic in that regard of like, right. I can just kind of keep on going because I'm just like, I gotta keep it moving, and then I keep it moving until I'm like, I'm exhausted,
right? And then 4 or 5 other things happen in your life, and you're toast.
Exactly.
You know, you're toast. So.
Hey, for real. And so for right now, that is not what's happening. It's like it's circumstances around me that are happening. So like I'm keeping the ball rolling, but it's like everything else around me feels like it's kind of burning down, and I'm like.
Well, one of the things the millennials has done is brought this quote self-care
right.
to the forefront of life, and it's kind of true.
Of course.
You know, my generation worked ourselves, you know, to the bone, and hopefully when you turn 55, you could retire and have enough money to go do stuff.
Right.
Now it's 65, 70 years old, 75 years old, maybe you'll have enough money.
Right.
You know, and so if you don't do the things now, there's no guarantee you're going to be able to do them in the end.
Right.
You know, there's a commercial. I hate this commercial. I'm not going to mention who it is, but they're talking about this button, this time machine. Oh, look, you have this great house, and you know, do I have a house too? No, you spent all your money on vacations and stuff. Well, you know what? You need to take. You need to do some stuff for yourself too,
of course,
or you're going to burn it up, and you're not going to be worth anything to anybody.
Right. So, and that's the thing is like I believe that I'm pretty diligent with my finances. I know, I have trust me when I say I'm not where I am today without making my fair share of mistakes financially.
We all have.
No, exactly. But I trust me when I say that I'm not going to be, taking these trips on a whim that I just that I.
But sometimes
I don't have.
Maybe you need to.
Yes,
maybe you just need to have a bag packed and Friday say, Mallory, we're leaving.
Yes,
and just go somewhere. It doesn't matter what direction you go. Just go.
But I'm meaning in like in a sense of like I'm not going to put myself in some sort of really bad spot to do that kind of thing. And that's what I'm saying. It's like I'm going to be. It may be on a whim, but it's going to be responsible in some capacity, but it was just the allowing myself to have that chance.
Sure,
is kind of coming to be right now. So
and that's awesome. Go check good stuff.
Oh, of course.
I mean, there's
so many great places to eat, so many great places to see.
Early '90s, I wanted a lobster dinner.
Yeah.
So I took a couple of days off and I drove to Maine.
There you go.
I saw some stuff, and I made the rule that if I ever did stuff like that, I can't take the interstate.
Okay.
Unless it's absolutely, you got to take it.
Right.
I would take side roads and back roads, and you saw stuff, and you met people, and the little restaurants on the interstate are okay, but you get off the interstate and you see the mom and pop stores, and you get the little bed and breakfasts, and you get the really neat stuff where you get to meet unique people, and that's what I like about it.
Of course, that's awesome. Yeah,
so, I remember one time when I was driving somewhere, it looked like somebody was having a garage sale.
Really?
And there was all kind of woodworking equipment out there.
Oh, man.
And so I thought it was a garage sale or a yard sale or something. So I pull up and the little door opens up. What do you want? Close the door. Said, is this a yard sale? No. What do you want? And it was this little old lady, and I guess her husband comes around the corner and, says, can I help you? And I said, sir, I thought this is amazing stuff here. I just thought, it was a yard sale or something. And he says, no, I'm just cleaning out my barn. He said, you think this stuff is interesting? And I said, like, sir, this is amazing.
It's great stuff.
He says, well, come on. And he went and told his wife, everything's cool.
Yeah, right.
I spent 4 hours just talking to this guy. And he gave me 2 little woodworking tools. I still have them.
Oh, wow.
That were probably from the 1800s.
Yeah.
But that's what he had. His family did all this woodworking, and he was getting up in age, and he was trying to clean it out and sift and sort through stuff, and what's important he was going to keep and what wasn't. He was kind of letting go. But I spent 4 hours with an amazing time.
That's awesome.
Talking to this guy.
That's so great.
Yeah.
And
there was another guy I met in Florida, doing some road work, and him and his wife would, sweet people, and they would bring us these Cokes or Dr. Peppers, and you could tell the cans were like from the 70s or 80s, and it wasn't good anymore.
Yeah.
But you didn't want to turn them down and stuff. And so one day he heard us talking about guns, and he said, well, come to the house for lunch one day. And he took me down into this little area over there, and old guy was retired from Winchester.
Oh my gosh.
And his whole
wow
basement area, or kind of, it really wasn't a basement, it was just the lower level to the house.
Yeah.
Was all kind of guns and ammo and prototypes and all kind of, and I took longer than my lunch. I spent hours just talking to him, but if you don't take the time to do that and meet people, you don't get to take the time and meet people.
Right. I just had like a really good conversation with a couple of friends of mine that it is like that, where you just have this, in that regard, you're meeting new people and you're kind of finding out these amazing stories for people you may not know or know the background of, but these are people that I know pretty well. Like, these are friends of mine. And like, over the weekend we were having this conversation about stuff, and we got on the topic of betrayal, and it was just, the big thing is that the reason why I think it was on my mind and we were talking about it was because of it's like Holy Week for the Christian church.
Right.
And so a lot of times it is the crucifixion of Jesus Christ, and then of course his then resurrection. And it got me thinking, because again, a lot of the people that I hang around that are in that
arena,
in that area, are talking about it, and it just made me think about betrayal and like, what does that mean, or like, or how does that affect you in your life?
The first fact about betrayal, and maybe that's a subject. Can we add that to the whiteboard?
Yeah.
But the first condition of betrayal is that it never comes from an enemy.
Right.
You can't be betrayed by an enemy.
Right.
That's the first condition of it.
Exactly.
So,
so that's kind of where our conversation it kind of blossomed into, and I got to see new sides of my friends that I haven't, or new stories from them that I never had considered or thought about, because we just never got into that kind of conversation before. And it was just like, how has betrayal in some capacity or hurt in that regard, how has that changed you in your life, and what has that kind of shaped you into the person that you are? Because I know personally, like, there was a situation for me where I really trusted this person that I thought that I loved, and then come to find out I was being cheated on, really. And it was really deep cut betrayals that it felt like. And again, thinking about it as well in the concept of Jesus Christ and all that kind of stuff, was like his, he was betrayed by one of his closest followers. And then it made me think about that, like, in like a human response of, like, if we're to say that Jesus Christ was a human, just like any one of us, just a guy with emotions and all the other nonsense that people come with.
Sure.
Was like, what must that have felt like? To like,
well, for him, it might be a little bit different, because he knew it was coming.
When
our betrayal happens, we don't know. Jesus not only knew it was coming, he told him to go do it. Do what you got to do.
Right. And then for me, like, but then again, that whole conversation brought me back around to myself as well. And then towards the end of that relationship that I was in, I almost knew it myself.
Right.
But I didn't want to believe it. And then again, like I said, I don't.
Let's do this. Let's add this to the whiteboard.
I wasn't talking. I wasn't planning on talking about this, but then it made me think about that from Jesus's perspective of, like, well, he probably knew, but that didn't make it hurt any less.
Right.
And that's for me. Right. I was like, man, it hits deep. And so anyways, like I said, we were just talking about that and then having like this real conversation with friends where.
So let me ask you this. Has this podcast, you're talking about changing things.
Right.
Has this podcast changes the way you interact, talk, and listen to people now?
Yeah.
Because I think I find that it does me. I'm always listening. I'm listening to what's interesting to people, what they're talking about, what their opinions. What does that do for you?
Yeah, for me, I think it is also, I think I've always been I was kind of socially awkward as a kid. So like listening was always like first nature, but like talking and responding was never really something I was strong at. But then I've gotten better as I've gotten older, being able to talk and conversate with people. But this podcast specifically has really put me in some really unique scenarios,
right?
And has pushed me to ask some like serious questions, or to push talking about something that we probably shouldn't talk about, and that has been back in my I guess life outside the podcast as well, of like listening in a conversation, thinking about it, and then asking those questions that can kind of really change what we're
dissecting them as we dissect that question or thought process.
Yeah, just unfold it almost into something different that I don't think I really did before. But but being with the two of you guys here in this space has really
because you have another podcast.
Yes,
and y'all
it's a
watch
little more
the movies,
right.
And you have a great conversation about it, and it's kind of pushed you to watch some movies, which I still need to give you a movie list.
Yes, it is, but it's a little more lighthearted though,
right?
Whereas this,
we delve into some subjects.
Yes, well, I think it's also been a variety too. It's been things that are, even if it is things that are lighthearted, a lot of times even just talking about aliens landing or going to Mars or whatever. We touched on some pretty intense stuff that I'm like, I never would have thought about that, unless X-Man would have just had some outlandish idea or whatever, you know. But yeah, and so that's been. What about? I mean, for you, what happens? Like,
I've always been an observer, of people, and I watch people. That's what I do.
Right,
for 30 plus years being in the field that I am and was, and everything else. But it's made me want to engage people a little bit more,
right?
To find out their opinions and their thought process on things, because you walk through this world and you look at somebody and maybe you think they got their crap together,
right?
But deep down inside, none of us do.
You're right.
And so it's interesting to start a conversation with somebody and actually learn what's going on about them.
Yeah, exactly.
And you talk to them, and then that increases us to be able to come on this podcast, and talk about some things too.
Exactly.
Because I always don't just bring up my opinion. I like to talk about what other people think, and I'll throw something at y'all, and we'll, debate it and engage it, and maybe it's right, maybe it's wrong. I used to have a conversation at work, a lunch conversation at work, with one of the guys that I worked with, and we had really, really deep conversations about stuff in life, race, all kind of stuff.
Yeah, all of it.
And the rules we had in that conversation was you couldn't be offended. Right. And 2, you could never take your side.
Oh, wow. Interesting.
So if you wanted to talk about a tough subject, we could do it.
Talk about
but you had to talk from the other side.
Wow.
And it brought a lot to light for both of us.
Yeah.
Because we could talk about, whatever we wanted. And that was really interesting. And in kind of a way we do that here. We kind of talk about subjects and we throw them around and we look at them from 3 different perspectives.
Exactly, yeah.
2 different perspectives. Sorry, X-Man.
Okay.
That's going to be so weird.
It is.
It is. It just, good Lord have mercy. But and so now it's kind of brought that, curiosity about other people for me, because we're authentic in our conversations, and that's what people are responding to, is that authenticity. And so, I want to keep that going.
Of course, yeah. I that is one thing as well in my personal life that I have friends, many people, even that I wouldn't probably consider friends, or just acquaintances, is that they enjoy having conversations with me.
Sure.
Because I for me personally, I don't really like surface level conversations a lot of times. I'm always like, let's talk about some real stuff, like about yourself.
String theory.
Yeah.
Life,
Oh, that's a little deep. No, but like your interests. Tell me who you are. Like let me get to know you as a person, and not just like just this surface level facade or whatever. We can all pretend to be happy.
Anybody we want. That's
to
the great thing about social media and the internet. You can pretend to be anybody you want. Right.
And then I have many people, some that I don't even talk to anymore. I feel like I tried to help facilitate a space that they could talk about that kind of stuff, or just open up a little bit and have someone to talk to. And there's been some really interesting scenarios where I've had somebody conversating about something. They're like, I never would have talked about this with anybody. Why am I don't even. I've known you for a couple hours now.
This thing has kind of opened us up to that experience now,
exactly.
I think. And I think that people hear us talk, and they know that we are authentic, and we know that we're earnest in what, our questions with each other, and I think they're responding to that. And so when they hear us, we give them a safe space to talk, just like we've created one here.
Right.
So.
What a fun time.
It just feels weird without him here, doesn't it?
Yeah. It's
because he would have insulted me 2 or 3 times
by
now.
At least, yeah. I think he got a haircut too, so there probably would have been some, some back and forth.
Okay.
Yeah, But yeah,
that's funny.
Yeah, so I really enjoy what this podcast has done. I think it has helped me view things in a different light, and I've also gained a lot of knowledge from both of you as well, just from having conversations or just listening in on you guys talking about stuff, talking about being fathers to sons. Is like, man, that stuff is like, I'm not in that boat yet, but like hearing those conversations have like helped me.
Are you saying we're the best birth control out there?
I wouldn't say that, but it just made me think about certain things and like considered like stuff about being a dad and how to parent or whatever, so I don't know. It's just,
well, there's millions of books out there about how to be a parent, and none of them know what the hell they're talking about. It's always somebody's opinion, and then what worked for them may not work for you.
Right.
You just got to figure that one out.
Exactly.
Like I am with Magnus.
Everything's still okay with the Magnus show?
Yeah, the Magnus show is going to be the Magnus show until he's 18 in a day.
Oh, man.
What 18 in a day? What's 18 in a day? I said 18 in a day is when you're going to leave if you don't have it together. You'd throw me out on my birthday. No, that's what the day's for.
Exactly.
18 is your birthday, and a day is the day you roll.
Happy birthday. Now it's time for you to leave.
That's it.
Man, that's crazy.
Yeah. No, everything's good. He's a challenge, but when he knocks it out of the park, it's just amazing to watch him do that.
Of course.
And he has that energy that I wish I had.
Yeah. He's also got some, he's very innovative.
Yes.
Yeah, he's innovative.
Underestimate.
Never underestimate him.
Man.
Because he can do some damage from what I've heard. So
yeah, he's something. He's always got an angle on something.
He's always got something brewing.
Yeah,
that's interesting. Yeah. Anyways, like I said, with this whole week, hopefully we have a new day set in stone of like when we're gonna record, keep it kind of rocking and rolling like that. And I think it's gonna be really good, and we have some cool people down the pipeline that I think is gonna make this show.
Yeah,
is going to grow it into even something even bigger.
I was just afraid when this happened. I think the first thing in my head was, other than hopefully it didn't end.
Oh, right,
because I didn't want that to end.
Right,
but like X-Man said, he believes he's leaving the show in good hands, which he is.
Mm-hmm.
And but I just didn't want to have to force a decision.
Right,
that's what I was afraid of more than anything.
Right.
And I'm glad that we're in a place that we're not going to have to do that.
Mm-hmm.
We can kind of kick back. Relax, see what we want to do, talk about things. Every week we get some great ideas from people on topics, so that'll keep flowing. We'll have some good guests on, and we'll just keep plugging along.
Yep.
Feels weird sitting in this seat.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Just X-Man, in case you are listening, he did in fact take your seat. So he's He's I don't know if that offends you or not, but the other seat's obviously always available.
That's right. That's right.
Anyways, you have anything else you want to add to this episode?
No, I think we covered a little bit. I would like to add betrayal to the whiteboard because I think that would be a good conversation to have.
Like I said, having that, it was one of those that I wasn't intending to stay up as late as I did, but like it was just such a good conversation. Like you didn't want to end it because you're like,
right.
There's so many more things I wish I could say. You just kind of get lost in all that stuff. But the big thing was just, the emotional side of it, just feeling that. And
sounded like it was a really good conversation.
It was really good. Like I said, especially from people that like, pretty well, but maybe not in that capacity to hear some things about and to hear some encouraging words from.
And then all of a sudden it happens and you're in that space,
right?
And you're like, you don't want that to end because you're like, wow.
This is awesome. Yeah, exactly. And so that was, like I said, that was over the weekend, and it was intermingled between all this other chaos for me.
Right.
So it's like, it really was a God thing in a lot of different ways of like, I feel like I've been stressed on my wit's end. And like I said, and then of course, like I said, I'm not mad at my brother, but I definitely had that feeling of like, the last thing I need right now is to have to like be the mediator between my family and all this stuff going on, be the, all that kind of stuff. But at the same time, it's like he's a trooper. Everything's fine. Everything's good. And then to have these friends that, I have been this year personally have been trying my best to like reach out to these people to be like, instead of it being assumed that I care about you, I'm trying to like be deliberate about it.
Sure.
Of like, there's a lot of things that, and even the friends that I'm talking about that are in question, they were like, just you inviting us out is proof to us, know that you care and that you're thinking about us. And I'm like, and that is true, but I also want you guys to know that like I appreciate you and I care about you and I want you to know that I'm here for you. And so to have that, and then of course get that reciprocated in the same way of like, we're here for you as well. I was like, oh, that's so nice to have that conversation with people, and so
that's awesome. Sounds like it's a great conversation.
Right. Anyways, I didn't mean for this to happen, but that over that same weekend, I had opened a bottle of champagne and I didn't quite finish it, so we're polishing it off. That's right here. And
it's pretty good too.
As we're talking about, moving forward, it almost feels like we're celebrating, and I didn't mean for that to happen. It's not that way at all. But anyways,
next man's like, I should have been there.
I should have been there. You got champagne and I didn't. What? That's not fair. Anyways, I'm not sure if we offended anybody this week.
No, I don't think we did.
Maybe we stepped on some toes, if nothing else.
We took it easy this week. But wait, there's next week.
Yeah, there's always more.
There's always next week.
There's always next week. Hold out hope that will offend you yet. Anyways, thank you so much for listening. If you're looking for us, you can type in Retrospect on all the major podcasting platforms, and you should be able to find us. Or you can type in Linktree/Retrospect Pod, and you can find all of our links to all the different ways you can find us. Or you can do the same thing on Facebook.
Always. Yeah. I try to get on Facebook every week. And
Retrospect Pod. It's how you can get in touch with us there. But until then, thank you so much for listening. Bye-bye.
Peace.